Yes, good afternoon, friends. I hope all of you are doing good. And I'm also doing good. Thank you so much. I thought maybe you also wanted to check whether I'm good or not, so replied without you asking. Anyways, okay. So, yeah, today is our fourth session, as all of you know, and we are into basics of law. So, let us first quickly revise what we have discussed in our previous sessions relating to basics of law. Okay, and before that, first the syllabus, if you can recall, which is the Indian Contract Act 1872, right? Not all the provisions, but then selected provisions which are there in our syllabus. Then Sale of Goods Act, right? So we said 1 plus 1, and then plus 3. There is the 3 acts which are relating to forms of business, nothing but Indian Partnership Act. Then we have got LLP Act, and also we have got some provisions of Companies Act in our syllabus. Correct. Then, talking about meaning of law, if you remember, we said rules and regulations for a relationship in a particular domain, that is jurisdiction, area, territory, right? Whatever you call it as. Set up by, right? Proper authority, enacted by proper authority. And if I change a few things here, right? Like relationship, if I change it to business relationship, this becomes business laws. And in case I change the domain as well, domain to India and by parliament, then it is business laws for CA aspirants, that is you guys. And if you remember the objective of law, when I'm doing recap, I don't expect any doubt. First, let me complete the recap, Akanksha. As I've told you earlier also, that let me first complete, and when I give a chance, that time you may. Okay. Then coming to objective of law, it's socio-economic justice, right? And we said, simply speaking, it is nothing but bringing in discipline, being rational, right? Avoid chaos, bringing smoothness. If you recall the types of laws, we said not just business laws, but we have got other types of laws as well, like fiscal laws, economic laws, cyber laws, environmental laws, criminal laws, isn't it? Then coming to a chartered accountant, right? Coming to a CA student, we said that we specialize in, or we expertise in, business laws, fiscal laws, and economic laws, right? Maybe we may refer other laws, but as an expert, if we are talking about an expert, yes, we are going to be expert is in the first 3 which is before you, right? Which is in front of you. Achha, what is fiscal laws? Fiscal law meaning what? Fiscal law meaning law dealing with exchequer, that is revenue of the government, and mainly revenue of the government comes from taxes, correct? So relating to GST or income tax, if you're talking about, that will be covered in fiscal laws. We have also talked about sources of law. Sources of law meaning what? Where does the law come from, and which law? Yeah, obviously all the laws. We're not talking about any particular law. We're talking in general about law. So the tradition, customs is one of the source, rather the first source. Then we have also got the case laws. That is nothing but the pronouncements given by judicial bodies as well as quasi-judicial bodies. Then about the authority, that is parliament or the expert committees, can also be the third source. Coming to features of law, we said important features are like it is mandatory, but in which case? We said mandatory in case it is applicable. Then we also said law is flexible in the sense that law brings in changes. As and when changes are required, they bring in changes. And also that law has got certain exceptions. So in public interest, whenever some exceptions are required, they'll bring in exceptions as well. Law is uniform, that is implemented in a uniform manner. Then compliance in true letter and spirit, meaning what? The rational, the objective should be achieved. Then ignorantia juris non excusat, that is ignorance of law is not an excuse. So is it generally or always? Guys, please tell me. Ignorance is not an excuse. Is it generally or always? Come on. Ignorance is not an excuse. Is it generally or always? No, I'm not happy with your answer. We said this is generally, not always. That's where I've told you that there can be certain exceptions as well. Sometimes we may find exceptions. Correct, Shruti? Certain times, yeah. So that means only what? Generally, not always, not all the time. Okay. Acha, what is this ignorantia juris non excusat? What is this ignorantia juris non excusat? Come on. Yeah, Latin magazine. Correct. You're right. Absolutely correct. It is in Latin language, right? The English translation of which is obviously ignorance is not an excuse. Not magazine, Hirtesh. It is not magazine. It is maxim. Maxim. Okay, not magazine, beta. Then written in a special way. Law is written in a special way. That is where, what did we say? We'll be referring even rules of interpretation. So these are some important features which we have talked about. And in our previous session, we also discussed the procedure for enacting a law. So for making a law, first of all, there should be some draft, there should be some budget, there should be some ordinance, correct, by the respective ministry, right? So by the central government, but then in that case, it would be what? The respective ministry. Then it has to be taken up before the cabinet. And once the cabinet approves the same, then what will happen? It will go to parliament. And obviously in parliament, what happens is, the discussion takes place, the debate takes place, and after that, maybe the approval is given by the parliament. And when we say parliament, we are not just talking about Lok Sabha, we're talking about Rajya Sabha as well, right? When we write parliament, we mean what? Both the houses of the parliament, right? Then president shall give the assent once the parliament approves it. That means, since the law is for the society, for the public, right, for the citizens, we expect at least first citizen of the country should be signing it. That's where we said president to give the assent. Then it becomes a law, which is also called a statute or an act. And then once it is enacted, it has to be implemented, which can be implemented at one go or maybe in phased manner. Then prospective way, meaning the law can be implemented from a future date, right? With respect to timing also, we discussed not just manner of implementation. Same way we said also retrospective is possible, right? And then immediate. Retrospective is possible in very rare case, right? Remote chances are there, right? Retrospective means backdated, but prospective means what? Future dated. And immediate is obviously immediately. Arrangement of law, we said law is arranged properly so that we can refer it easily, right? If it is not properly arranged, then reference becomes difficult, and if reference becomes difficult, obviously the understanding also becomes difficult. So they have to take care that it is arranged properly. So that's where we said in the law you'll find preamble. What is preamble? Objective in short, right? And where is objective in detail given? Obviously there's a separate document called as statement of objects and reasons. Then we said the whole of the law is grouped into some parts or chapters, right? Sometimes we have both parts as well as chapters, or sometimes only parts, or sometimes chapters. In those parts or chapters, we have got sections. Along with sections, we may have subsections, clauses, subclauses, right? Also sometimes some exceptions, which is nothing but proviso. Further exception, that is sub proviso. And then we have got sometimes even explanation. Now, is explanation only after sub proviso? No, I've told you the other day as well that explanation can be there with section as well. Explanation can be there with subsection, or who knows, there is an explanation on title of the chapter. So it's possible explanation can be there on anything, right? Wherever they feel something has to be elaborated, something has to be explained, they may give an explanation. Then what is a proviso? Yeah, if you remember, proviso is an exception, nothing but an exception. I gave you the other day, right? Please guys, I expect you to pay attention. Day before yesterday, when we have taken up session, we have talked in detail about it with an example. If you remember, we were talking about Natasha, right? Maybe saying, Sumed, I would talk to you provided it makes sense. So what did I say? That making sense is not being done by Sumit. Whenever he talks, probably he talks senseless. So exceptionally, when he's making sense, then Natasha is ready to talk to him. So that way we can have sometimes some exception. How will we identify that exception? Obviously with the help of the words provided that, right? With the help of the words provided that. Whereas when it comes to sub proviso, obviously further provided that. So that means further exception they're talking about. Then when it comes to parts, chapters, sections, subsections, as you could see, some numbering is being done. Sometimes the normal number, sometimes the Roman number, sometimes maybe the alphabets also being used, right? If you recall, subsection, clauses, subclauses will always be within brackets. And then section number, when I talk about, or maybe subsection or parts chapter, I've also told you that it can be alphanumeric as well. What does that indicate? Whenever we find some alphanumeric, whenever we find some alphanumeric chapter, alphanumeric section, okay, or alphanumeric subsection, what does that indicate, my dear friends? Please tell me. Come on, what does it? Yeah, very good. It indicates it's an amendment, right? Because If originally they are making the law in the original arrangement, they may just number sequentially, right? But sometimes later on, when they believe that yes, something has to be inserted and has to be inserted only between those two sections, then they have no choice but to bring an alphanumeric section or alphanumeric chapter or maybe subsection. Acha, please tell me, is section number unique in an act? Is section number unique? Very good. Section number is always unique. But is subsection number unique? No. Very good. Subsection number is not unique. So we have compared that with again a simple example, right? Namit Jain. So all will be Jains, right? Rohan Surana. So we said all will be Suranas in his family, it is at his home, right? And there are two brothers. Is it that those two brothers will be Namit? Or is it that two brothers will be Rohan only in the same home? No. We said no, it's not possible, right? So that way we have compared section, subsection. Right. Then anything written in law. Can you tell me anything written in law is called as what? Anything which is written in law is called as, yeah, provision. Very good. Yes, anything written in law is called as a provision. So a section is a provision. A clause is a provision. A proviso is also a provision. Right. So we also said, if you remember the note which is written here, all provisos are provisions, but it is not that all provisions will be provisos. How is it possible that law will have only exceptions? How can that happen, right? So just think logically, you will recall, right? Then, I don't think we have gone further, right? We have discussed till here. Now, please tell me what is your doubt, right? One or two friends of ours have raised some doubt. Now you can ask your doubt. Yeah, Priyan? Okay, great. So I hope all of you have understood. All provisos are provisions, but all provisions are not provisos at all. There can be sections, subsections, other things as well. Right. Very good. Now coming to quasi-judicial body, I have explained again quasi-judicial body. Now I want you people to answer that for Sumit. What is quasi-judicial body? It is nothing but what? A judicial body, right? Established by the government. But who has given the power to the government? Very good. It is coming from law, correct? The power is given to the government by an act. Like I took an example of National Company Law Tribunal. Okay, in short, we say NCLT. That's a judicial body which is established by central government. But who has given the power to central government? Yeah, it is the Companies Act. So when act is giving the power, right, that is why central government is able to make, then it is called as quasi-judicial body. Same way I said income tax appellate tribunal. Okay, income tax appellate tribunal is established by government, and who has given the power to the government? The Income Tax Act. Okay, so whenever power is coming from the act or law, then it can be called, that type of judicial body can be called as quasi-judicial body. Is it okay now, Sumit? Yes. Akanksha, you had some doubt. Now you're not typing your doubt. Now you're not shooting your doubt. Okay, I think she's not there. Okay, so let's continue further today now. Okay, Asha, one more question. Please tell me, when I am talking about Parliament making law for the country, who has given the power to the Parliament? Please answer this question. Who has given the power? Very good. Yes, Shruti, Namit, all of you are right. Constitution is giving the power, yes, to the government. Right, to the government? No, to the Parliament. Government, I said, is going to propose the law, is going to administer the law, is going to implement the law. Correct? We have talked about three bodies as well, if you remember. Then we said second body is Parliament, which is obviously the lawmaker. And third one, can you recall the third body? Can you recall the third body? Yeah, very good. Courts, we said in short, correct. Judicial or quasi-judicial bodies, right? Judiciary, correct. So that's nothing but in short, we said court. What is the job? What is the function of court? To give sense to law. Whenever there is some dispute, who will help us in resolving the dispute? Whenever we don't understand law properly, who is going to help us in understanding that law properly? Yes, very good. The courts will help us in understanding the law properly. Okay. Chalo. Now let's go ahead talk about the next topic. I believe all of you are having your notebook, right? Notebook, pen in front of you, and you're in a position to write. Same way, I guess all of you have muted yourself in case it's unmuted, and same way, video is switched off. I would appreciate if you can follow this throughout the session so that we can take up the session smoothly. Okay? Yeah, thank you. So now you may write down today's date and write down the heading for the next thing which we're discussing, okay, in the basics of law. And that's what? Reading of law. Put the heading as what? Reading of law. Yes, reading of law. Reading of law. So now, what do I mean by that? Sir, reading of law, we know it's English. You said you will provide some book. You also said that we may refer to some study material which is given by ICI. We may refer that as well. Right? So we'll be referring those books. We'll be reading those books. That is what we'll read when we read law. Correct? That's what you might say. But my question is, if ICI has made some study material, they might have read something. Correct? If they have made study material on law, that means they might have read something to make that book. Same way, if I'm going to share some book with you, don't you think I might have read something and then made that book? So what is that I have read in order to say that I have read law, isn't it? That is the question which I want to raise. Okay, that is the question which I want to raise. Now, very soon, when you enter your articleship, let's say you've cleared your foundation, right? Smile, boss. Yeah, I'm saying you've cleared your CA foundation. And let's say you've cleared your CA inter as well. And you are going for what? Articleship, internship with a practicing CA. And let's say you start working on GST, right? You start working on company law. So what exactly are you going to read is my question. Suppose you have to work on GST. So what is that you're going to read? You're going to work in company law. So what are you going to read, right? Is my question. So first thing you'll say, sir, the act which is enacted by the parliament. We're going to, of course, read that. Okay. So now the question comes, if you read that particular act's name, Mayank, it is act. I'm talking about one act. Okay. So maybe we'll refer to that particular act. Let's say Income Tax Act, because you're working for income tax or working under income tax. Okay. So you will be reading which act? Income Tax Act. So the next question comes, okay, sir, but that Income Tax Act which we have taken, that bare act means what? Act as it is, bare, B-A-R-E, you know, right? So bare, English term, bare. So bare act, meaning act as it is. We will read that. But do you think that act will be updated? Suppose today you're reading that bare act. Do you think till today it is updated? Maybe who knows, yesterday there was a change, yesterday there was an amendment. Correct, good. So all of you are answering, no sir, it might not be updated. So you will have to take amendments as well. So not just you'll read the bare act, but you'll also take amendments. You will read amendments. Acha. If let's say there is an amendment act also, like there can be Companies Amendment Act 2015. So while reading Companies Act 2013, you will read Companies Amendment Act 2015. Yeah, additionally you'll have to read, because that will also give you that is going to give you the amendments. Okay, same way when you're reading Income Tax Act, if there's an Income Tax Amendment Act, you'll have to read that. So basically you'll be reading amendments. Okay, sir. So now, sir, when we are reading act plus amendments, that means we are reading updated law. Okay, you're reading updated law, but now the next question comes up. If there is, by any chance, let's say there is any mistake in law, and lawmakers have identified that we have done a mistake. So do you think that particular mistake might be rectified by those lawmakers? Yes. So we may have something called as corrigendum. Okay, some rectification of mistake they might have done, and that is by way of what? Corrigendum. Okay, spelling don't bother now. Just understand what I'm saying. Okay, later on when you show the slide, I show you the slide, that time you can see the spelling. So rectification of mistake you will have to read, that is nothing but corrigendum. Okay, sir. So now we are reading updated law because we're reading amendments as well, and rectified law also in case there is some mistake in the law. Correct. Then question comes, sir, who knows, there might be some exemptions given. There might be certain dates we might need because law may not be implemented at one go. So that is where there is a possibility of what? Even notifications. Okay, they may notify date. Oh, this particular section is applicable from so and so date. This section has got some exemption. Like that, they may give some notifications. They may notify something, right? So notification will be. Okay. Sometimes they may give even some explanations. Sometimes they may help us with something more. Okay. That is where some circulation might be done, that which is called as circular. So we might read that as well. Sometimes, who knows, there might be some rules also additionally framed by the government to properly administer or implement the law. So there might be some rules. Government will make some rules to implement properly, because their job is to implement. Their function is to not just propose law, implement, administer. So for that smooth implementation, administration, they might make certain rules. We might have to read that as well, because we have to see. The other day only I've told you, when we are following law, we have to follow in letter and spirit. So we need to understand all this, not just take the bare act and say that we are reading it and we have read it completely and now we can follow. No, that won't happen. Okay, right. Then you will say, sir, all this will read. Okay, fine. But in case we don't understand the meaning of a particular term, okay, meaning of a particular term, then what? Then obviously we might go to some other law. So while reading Income Tax Act, you might read sometimes other law also. Because let's say that the term company is used in Income Tax Act and you don't know the meaning of the term company. Now you might go to Companies Act and take the definition from there. Who knows, they're using the term body corporate, which is not being defined under Income Tax Act. Then you are forced to go to Companies Act and borrow the definition from there. Correct. So like that, when you're reading one act, you may refer to other acts also. Then we may also refer to case laws, because somewhere when we don't understand something, right, then we said we will take the help of courts. Correct, because they will give sense to law. So who knows, there was a dispute already on this matter, there was already a case on this particular matter, so we might take the help of that case law to understand this law properly. You might say, sir, we might take the help of dictionary also, because we may not understand certain thing and it is not covered by other law as well. Yes, so that is also possible. Like that, there are n number of things which we might have to refer in order to read a particular law properly, completely. Okay, now I'll show you the slide and let's discuss one by one once again and properly. Okay, what is the heading? Reading of law, meaning comprehensive reading, complete reading of any law. I'm talking about comprehensive reading, complete reading of any law. So we will read the bare act. Okay, bare act. Bare act means what? Act as it is. So we will read that, we'll go through that with schedules, okay? Meaning if something and some annexure is there along with that bare act, then we'll refer that also. Then as I've told you, some amendments we'll read, amendment or amendment act. Then we might refer notifications, because maybe some date has been notified there, some exemptions might be notified there. So we might additionally refer that. Corrigendum. What is corrigendum? So we said corrigendum is nothing but rectification of mistake. So if there's any mistake in law, then that rectification of mistake is corrigendum, right? Natasha, bare act. Bare act means, as we said, act as it is. See, when the parliament has made some act, that act will refer, right? Act as it is made by parliament. In case there are some annexures, then that is called as schedule. So with schedules, I said, okay. And please wait, I'm explaining. I might repeat again. Then corrigendum, rectification of mistake, I said, because there is a possibility sometime they might commit some mistake, some printing error might be there, or maybe some spelling mistake might have happened, so they might correct that. Then some rules. Why rules? Because as I've told you, government has to implement this law properly. So if they have to implement it properly, obviously they might give some or issue some rules. So that we might refer. Then sometimes some difficulty is there. In order to remove that difficulty, they pass some order. Okay, like that also there can be some orders, different orders might be there. Then some circulars might be there issued by the department, by the government. Then as I've told you, case laws, judicial or quasi-judicial pronouncements means what? Case laws, correct. We might refer that also. We will get a better idea, right? If a particular provision we are not able to understand, who knows that there was a case on this, there was a dispute on this, so we might refer that and understand. Then we might refer other laws also. Achha, other laws meaning which laws? I gave you an example of maybe Indian laws, but then we can refer even foreign laws. Okay, we may refer even some foreign laws to understand this Indian law better. Okay, and then there is another question, sir. While reading Companies Act 2013, can we read even Companies Act 1956? That means the law which was repealed, the law which was existing earlier. Now it is not there, Companies Act 1956, but can we refer that also to understand this new law properly? Yes. So that's where I have written other laws, Indian or foreign, dash in force. In force means the one which is applicable now, the one which is in force now. or repealed. Repeal means, as I've told you, it is withdrawn. It is no more there now. But it can help. Something which which was previously there also can help us understand this properly. Because who knows, there was a problem in that particular provision. That's why they brought a new one. So if you know the old one, you'll understand the new one better. Correct? Like history helps, no? So same way here. Then expert comments. Who knows? Experts are there who are giving commentary on some provisions. So we can take the help of experts as well. Then we also have got historical facts, meaning history of the law, some customs usage, change in technology. We can take the help of that also. Dictionary also we may take the help. Like that, as I've told you, n number of things we may take to read law. Sir, this much we'll have to read. Yes, but don't worry, I'm there to help you, I'm there to guide you, and the other books which are also there are there to guide you. But you should know. See, if I directly show you the book and don't tell you where is that book coming from or where are the points coming from, it is not going to be the right approach or professional approach. Because as I've told you, this is going to be a, this is going to be a profession. So you should know end to end, right? Where is this coming from? Okay, now at least you'll know the points come from these particular sources. Okay, and we read and then we say, yes, we have completed our reading. Okay, now I will ask you some questions. Okay, I'll ask you some questions. When do you think, yes guys, can I ask you some questions? Okay, great. First question is, why do you think there will be an amendment act? I said Companies Act 2013 is there, right? And then Companies Amendment Act 2015. Companies Amendment Act 2015. So why do you think Amendment Act is there? That is incomplete. No, not necessary. Why will they income? Okay, Acha, let me put it this way. Let me ask this question another way. There can be amendment, amendments, there can be amendment act. See, changes are required. That's why amendment. Amendment itself means change. So I'm talking about amendment, amendments, amendment act. So my question is, why amendment act? So the answer is very simple, that because the number of amendments are more. See, if number of amendment is 1 or 2, simply they'll bring a notification, okay, and issue amendment by way of that notification. But when number of amendments are more, when number of amendments are more, then they will bring an amendment act. Okay, and this amendment act is going to be read along with the principal act. And which is the principal act? Companies Act 2013. It has got it has not got existence of its own. That has to be read in addition to as a supplementary to the main act. Principal act means what? The main act, and the main act is Companies Act 2013. So Amendment Act 2015 is read along with the principal law. Okay, I repeat, amendment or amendments means 1 or 2, 3, 4 maybe. But when the number of amendments are slightly more, then they will bring an Amendment Act, which has to be read along with the principal act, that is, in our example, Companies Act 2013. Now you might say, sir, if number of amendments are huge, then what? If number of amendments are huge, then obviously they'll have to bring the new law. They'll have to discard this law and get a new law. So if Companies Act 2013 requires, let's say, like 300 changes, 400 changes, 400 amendments, better than throw this Companies Act 2013 into the dustbin and get a new Companies Act. Okay. So few, come on, few, then what? Amendment or amendments, correct. More than Amendment Act, and huge than the new law. Okay, then the new law. Right. Then let me go to my next question. Why do you think we might refer to foreign laws as well? Why do you think we might get into foreign laws as well? While reading in Indian law, why do you think we might go to foreign law? Come on, guys, answer. More exposure. Oh, to know the law more clearly, to understand Indian law well, more information. Okay, Okay, guys, no problem. Whatever you're giving, I appreciate that. That's not at all a problem. But then please understand. See, we might get inspired from the foreign laws. This Companies Act which I talked about, if you for your reference, Companies Act 2013 of India has drawn inspiration from English Companies Act 2008. So we have referred, okay, don't say copied, huh? Don't say copied. You know euphemisms, right? I hope you remember euphemisms, all of you. Euphemisms, using less harsh words, correct? Or using less polite words, I mean, using polite words. So when I'm talking about copied is not right. We'll say inspired, correct? So our Indian laws might be inspired, okay? We might draw inspiration from some foreign laws. So that's where we might take the help of foreign laws to understand our Indian law. And we know Companies Act 2013 of India has been made on the basis of English Companies Act 2008. We might refer that law sometimes when we are not able to understand this Indian company law. Okay, right. So I hope you have followed now, right? Then, acha, in foreign laws, we'll be referring mainly which laws? English laws. Reason, mainly our laws are based on English laws. And you know the reason. I don't have to tell you why English law is the basis of majority of our laws. Can you give me the reason? Can you give me the reason? Why do you think Indian laws are mainly on the basis of English laws? Yes, yes. Yeah, because British India was under the British rule. Very good. You're absolutely correct. So that is where, we had many laws coming from Britishers, and after that also we kept drawing inspiration from them and made laws. Okay, good. Next one. I have written here change in technology. Change in technology. So which way technology helps? Right? I need to understand that. Which way technologies or technology helps? While reading law, why should we bother about technology? Okay, I'll give you a simple example if you're not able to follow. See, now there is a compulsion as per the Companies Act. There's a compulsion to have some board meetings, minimum number of board meetings in a company. Okay, some minimum number is required. So now, how should that meeting take place? You'll say, sir, physically. Those directors have to meet physically, face to face. Yes, but if you understand the technology today, like we are meeting now, right? Virtually, we are meeting in our sessions. Same way, don't you think directors also can meet virtually? Can't they do some video conferencing? Can't they have call on Zoom or Skype? They can. So my dear friends, please understand, if the law is saying have meetings, let's say they say, like for your information, they say minimum 4 board meetings are required in a year. So don't you think those meetings can be held virtually? So while reading law, while reading Companies Act, if you are not aware of technology, it's not going to help. So you should understand the basic technology, if not the advanced technology, at least some basic terminology or technology you should understand. So that's where we have written here, technology also plays a role. Another example I'll give you. There was a law, okay, Companies Act again, which used to say that notice of the meeting has to be sent by post. Okay, that was the law earlier. One of the provision, obviously, the law, there were several provisions, out of which one of the provisions said that notice of the meeting has to be sent by post. Now, while reading the law, while understanding the law, will we read that as only by post? Guys, are we going to read that as only post? No. Naman said no. Give reason also, beta. Very good. Ambika said through email as well. Yes, you are absolutely correct, Ambika. Good. If possible, give reason for your answer instead of saying simply yes or no. Correct. So it's not by just post, but it is also by email, right? That is where technology again. So one has to understand the role of technology in law as well. Next question. Okay, dictionary. Which dictionary? Why dictionary, sir? Because we don't have the meaning of that particular term in any law, so that's why dictionary. Okay, but which dictionary? Which dictionary do you think we are going to refer? Yes, my dear friends. Oxford. Oh my God. No, I was not talking about the publisher or the publishing house. Ah, good. Related to law. Very good. Yes, you're right, Sumed, Ambika, Dimple. Correct. It is relating to law. The legal dictionary. We have got not just the English dictionary or the general dictionary, but we have got some technical dictionaries as well. Like we have a dictionary for accounts, dictionary for law, dictionary for biology, dictionary for chemistry. So we'll have to refer to the dictionary of law. And in case we don't get help from dictionary of law as well, then we might go to the general dictionary. Okay. And again, general dictionary, which particular publication is not my question at all. So don't bother about the publishing house. Okay. Anyways, good. See, I'm happy that you're trying. See, sometimes we may make mistake, but that's okay. As long as you're participating, it's all possible. Harshal says, sir, we can Google. Yeah, we can Google, but Google again, the reliable sources, the right sources. There's so much of information on Google. You should know that we are referring to the right source, reliable source, right? Not just any source. So that's also important, Harshal. Okay. Yeah, great. Then now, guys, one more doubt I get that, sir, where are we going to find this notifications? Where is that we can find these rules? Where is this BEAR Act going to be there? Where can we get it from? Isn't it? You might question, right? Circulars they're issuing. So where exactly are they going to be there, or where can we find them? Where can we get them is the question. Isn't it? Correct? ICAI, no. Dimple, there is a world beyond ICAI as well. It's not just ICAI, madam. So please understand there's something called as official gazette. Okay, there's something called as what? Official gazette. This is the spelling, okay? Official gazette. Now you might say, sir, what is this? If at all, now you want to understand official gazette. Official spelling everyone knows, and then gazette, Gazette. Official gazette. What does this mean? This means official newspaper. That's a newspaper, official newspaper. Like we have got the Hindu, the Times of India, right? Some newspapers, no, which is published by some private publishing houses and all. But then when I'm talking about official gazette, this is the newspaper released officially by the government. Okay, the government of India, or if you're talking about state related gazette, then it will be by the state governments. Okay, official gazette. Now you might say, sir, we would like to have a look at it. See, nothing great about it. Like you have seen Times of India. Now, hard copy also, you have seen physical copy. You've seen. And then these days we are getting soft copy of the Times of India as well, isn't it? Most of you might be reading those papers, right? On WhatsApp, or maybe the soft copy of it. Or at least you might have seen that, yeah, we are getting soft copy of these newspapers as well these days because of the lockdown, of course. So, same way now, official gazette, if you want to have a look, I'll show you once. See, this is the Gazette of India. The Gazette of India. Bharat Ka Rajpatra. Okay, this is how it looks like. This is what is the heading like. Okay, this is what the heading like. So this is the soft copy. Same thing, printout also you can get. All of you are able to follow me? Gazette of India. Gazette of India. Yes, Priyal. All of them are able to follow. Just check from your end, beta. Everyone is saying it's fine. Yeah. So Bharat Ka Rajpath, that means this is the official gazette of India. Huh? Same way we can have gazette of Telangana state, or the gazette of Karnataka state. Every state also can get their gazette. So in this, like this particular gazette which I have placed before you is pertaining to insolvency and bankruptcy code. This is one of the laws, economic laws, insolvency and bankruptcy code. Okay, we are not having this in syllabus. It's just that I wanted to show you some sample. At least once if you see the sample, you will be like, okay, I know what is gazette like or how does it look like. That was my idea. Okay. Yeah. So I believe all of you have understood. Come on, tell me. What is published in official gazette? Come on, guys, please answer. What is published in official gazette? Come on, if you have understood, you need to reply. Rules, new laws, correct? amendments. Don't forget amendments, Amendment Act, right? Orders, circulars, exemptions, dates. Okay, date, because this law is implemented from which date, or this section is implemented from which date, that will also be published in official gazette. So basically I can say, or in short I can say, whatever the government want to communicate with public officially, whatever government want to communicate with public, they'll be doing it through official gazette. In short, okay, very simple words. In short, if I have to say, official gazette means the newspaper which the government will publish. That means whatever government want to communicate with public officially, that will be done through official gazette. Am I clear, guys? Okay. Now, one more thing. You've heard of gazetted officer? Gazetted officer? Gazetted officer, heard of it? Yes. Most of you might have heard of it. If not, now you are hearing at least, Naman, correct? So gazetted officer means what? You'll say, sir, sometimes we need to get some authentication, some certification done from gazetted officer. They say you need to get, yeah, signature of the gazetted officer. Means, what is the meaning of gazetted officer? That officer whose appointment was referred in official gazette. Now, see, if Reliance is appointing, Reliance Industries Limited is appointing Ukku Bhai as the chairperson, do you think it is going to be published in official gazette? Obviously, no. Why would that come as an official publication? I mean, announcement. It's not relating to some government post, isn't it? So it's not going to be published. But if I'm saying that, let's say they are going to appoint a new governor of RBI. Let's say they are going to appoint a new governor of RBI. Do you think they are going to publish this in official gazette? Yes. Okay. Same way, if I say there is new district collector appointed, do you think they're going to publish in the official gazette? Yes. So the appointments of those government posts or officials which is being done, okay, and is being published or referred, okay, published or maybe referred in the official gazette, then they are called as what? Gazetted officer. So this means that even the appointments can be published in the official gazette. Okay, just for the knowledge sake, I wanted to share this with you, because if you have not heard about this term, you will be hearing about this term gazetted officer. So you should know about it. That's where I've just shared. Now, what is corrigendum? Rectification of mistake. Mistakes can happen, huh? So that's where they may rectify it. So I believe all of you have understood now. For reading law, we might have to refer multiple things, various things. Acha, one thing. Is it that for every law we have to refer everything? For every law we have to refer everything? Yes, guys. Is it that for every law we have to refer everything? Good. No, sir. It's not like that. Depends upon the requirement. We're reading one particular law, and for that particular law, who knows, we're required to read everything. But then maybe some law doesn't require that much of reading. So it all depends upon the law. Okay, it is not that every time everything has to be read. It all depends. I've just generalized that these are the things which we might refer. Okay, great. Chalo. Now let us go ahead with the next one. Okay, can I go ahead with the next topic in our basics of law? Yes. Okay, so put the heading reading of a case law. Put the heading as reading of a case law. Yes, guys. Reading of a case law. Meaning, you'll say, sir, what is this reading of a case law? See, what exactly is there when you read a case law? When you are reading a case, when you are talking about some case, what exactly you need to bother about? Okay, or what are the things which you'll find is what I'm trying to cover. Chalo. Sir, we have heard that probably Sumed has filed a case against Priyanka. So the first thing probably would be Sumed versus Priyanka. Okay, Sumed versus Priyanka. So what does it mean? First thing, we might refer to the parties, because we should know We should know the section by a particular name. So that is where I'm talking about citation. In the citation, what will we have? Name of the parties. Through that name of the parties or through those names of the parties, we can identify the case. Because otherwise, which case I'm referring, how will we know? You just say number by number, we can. It's very difficult. It's not possible. So we'll say, sir, Reliance Industries case was there, no. Sir, Tata Teleservices case was there, no. Sir, Airtel case was there, right? Like that, it becomes easy for us to refer. So that's where first thing which we would see, or which we will have to refer, or which we might find is citation. Okay, as I've told you, don't bother about spelling now. Just bother about what I'm trying to say first. Citation. Acha, Natasha is saying video is buffering. Natasha, please check from your end. Is everyone else fine with the video? Or all of you are facing the same problem? No. Okay, everyone is fine. So Natasha, please check beta at your end. Yeah, come on. So talking about reading of case law. First thing we said citation. What will we find in the citation? The name of the parties. Okay, great, Natasha. Yeah. Then after that, what will we bother about? What will we bother about in the case? So obviously, what is that case all about? The next thing after the names. Oh, if I say Sumed has filed a case against Priyanka, why is it that Sumed has filed a case? What is the subject matter? Right? That is the next question which is going to be asked. No? So next is subject matter. Okay. The next thing, facts of the case. What exactly happened, right, between these two? What was the reason for the fight, or what was that fight all about, first of all? Okay, subject matter we understood, but exactly what happened on that? So facts of the case we want to understand. Then do you think both of them, they will share their intentions, contentions, right? They may argue, correct. They might have some arguments as well. So we might refer to that. Then in the case, probably there will be witnesses, evidences. So we might even refer to those witnesses and evidence also. And then after all this, obviously the judgment of the court, correct? Right? The judgment of the court. So all this is what you will find in a case law. So when you're reading a case law, you should read properly. Maybe at foundation level or maybe CA inter level, we don't bother so much. But then when you are in CA final or practically when you're referring any case law, you should bother about all these things. You cannot say that I will just refer to citation and then the decree, that is the judgment. That is wrong. You should know the other things as well, because the judgment has come on the basis of facts and on the basis of intentions and some certain other things like witnesses, evidences. So we can't ignore them and read law or read case law. So that's where. So first item, citation, right? You may note down. If you have noted, please check the spelling now. Citation. What does that mean? Citation means we will find the names of the parties. Okay, names of the parties. Secondly, subject matter. That means what? What is the case all about? Okay, the case is about, let's say, excess electricity bill. Okay, the case is, let's say, the case is about income tax refund. Okay, the case is about interest being charged at a exorbitant rate, at a higher rate. Okay, whatever is the subject matter. Oh, the case is about section number 36 of Companies Act. Then facts of the case, as we said, facts. We are not talking about opinion. Okay, you're attending this session is a fact, whether you're listening to my session or not. Okay, whether I might say you're listening, but that might be my opinion. Who knows? You're not listening. So you're attending, that's a fact, but you're listening. When I say you're listening, that might be an opinion. So we are talking about facts of the case, what exactly happened. And then intention, contention. These might be opinions. Okay, these might be opinions. After facts, then opinions. Then arguments, witnesses, evidences. Okay, and finally the judgment of the court, judgment given by the judge. Correct. So decision or decree. Okay, the other name for decision is decree. Verdict, order, judgment. Like that, we have got different names. Citation, beta. Citation means what? As I said, Natasha versus Naman, Sumed versus Priyanka. Okay, when I say this, India versus Sri Lanka, India versus Australia, like we have no, when a match is being played. Same way here, when I say a case is being filed, who has filed the case? Let's say Sumed has filed the case. So Sumed versus Priyanka. So versus Priyanka, that means against Priyanka he has filed the case. So that's nothing but name of the parties. Otherwise, how will we identify the case? How will we refer the case? We should be able to refer. So that's where we have citation. Okay. Now, fact of the case, that night, 24th of December, where were you, Arpit? That means judge wants to know the fact. What was used in that particular offense? Come on, Arpit, you have to give the answer. The judge says, come on, give the answer. That means they're asking, they're checking the fact. Facts. Right now, what is the time? Oh, 2 o'clock is the time. That's a fact. That's not my opinion. It's a fact. Right? So they would like to know the facts of the case. They would like to know the facts of the case. Once they know the facts, then they'll get into the opinion. That is where I said intention, contention. Okay. Acha. I'll give you one simple example of intention. Let us say Arpit has received some, maybe let's say, request from Priyal. Priyal said, Arpit, go and kill that particular Sumed. Go and kill. I'll give you 1 crore rupees. Now, if let's say Arpit goes and kills Sumed, do you think intentionally he's killing? Do you think he wants to kill? That's where he has killed? Yes. And if let's say the punishment for that offense is 14 years imprisonment, let's say the offense for the punishment for the offense is 14 years. So the question comes, sir, let us say Arpit has not killed intentionally, but it so happened that Sumed attacked Arpit, and in self-defense, let us say he had no option but to save himself. So self-defense, it so happened that he happened to kill Sumed. Now, do you think the court will consider this particular fact that it was in self-defense that Arpit has killed Sumed and there was no intention? And thereby, instead of giving 14 years of imprisonment, they would give lesser imprisonment. Isn't it? Yes. So intention does matter. Intention is the one of the important factors in taking decisions, especially in law. Without considering the intention, they can't come up with any judgment. Okay. So please understand, intention is nothing but opinion, which also has to be considered. Okay. Now let's talk about the next one. Okay. Now I'm getting into questions. Question mode now. Please answer. Do you think every order is a decree? What do you think? You say, sir, you didn't share. Yeah, I didn't share, but I want to guess whether you know this or not. Every order is a decree? No, very good. See, only court order is a decree. It's not that every order is a decree. Okay. Your papa also might give some order, but that is not decree. Right? Your teacher, like I might give you some order, that is not decree. Court order is decree. So can I say like this? Every decree is an order, but every order is not a decree. Yes, obviously I can say every decree is an order, but every order is not a decree. Okay, next. One more question. Is there any difference between evidence and witness? Evidence and witness. Yes, sir, very simple. Evidence means we are talking about what? Maybe a paper, maybe an article, something like that, right? Evidence. Evidence means what? Maybe something, some document, some paper, or maybe let's say this pencil is an evidence, right? This phone is an evidence, like that. Some article I'm saying is an evidence. Or and then coming to witness. When I'm talking about witness, we're talking about person, right? I have witnessed that Natasha was doing something wrong, right? I have witnessed. Gautam Jain has witnessed. So that means that we are referring to person. When we talk about witness, we're talking about, yeah, person. Correct. You're right. All of you are right. Yes, sir. Now, I will just show you one citation. Okay. Let's understand it. Amit versus Arpit. Amit versus what? Arpit. So now the question is, who has filed case? Who has filed the case? Is it Amit who has filed the case? Is it Amit who has initiated the case? Or Arpit has initiated? Very good. All of you are writing correct. It's the right answer. It's Amit. Amit is the person who has initiated the case, who has filed the case. Okay, Amit. So Amit can be called as what? Complainant. Amit can be called as what? Complainant. Amit can be also called as what? Plaintiff. Or Amit can be also called as what? Plaintiff, complainant. Or other name can be petitioner. What? Petitioner. Yes. Amit can also be called as petitioner. Please understand. He has initiated the case. He has filed the case. Okay. So complainant. He is the one who's complaining. Plaintiff. This is the legal term. Then petitioner, because he's filing the petition. He's filing that application with the court. Then you'll say, sir, what will Arpit be called as? Arpit will be called as defendant. Okay, defendant. Arpit will be called as what? Defendant, because he needs to defend himself now. So when he has to defend, he'll be called as defendant. Or Arpit may also be called as respondent. He has to respond now. So he'll be called as what? Respondent. The case is filed against Arpit. So Arpit will be called as defendant or respondent. Okay. The complaint has been lodged against whom? Arpit. I hope all of you are able to follow me. Amit versus Arpit. This is the citation. I'm taking just an example of citation. So we have got the plaintiff and we have also got the defendant or respondent in the citation. All of you please pay attention. I know we are having the session after lunch, but I expect and I hope that you're paying attention to the session. Okay. All of you followed this? Yes, all of you are able to follow. Very good. See, there might be some other term also. Maybe later on I'll tell you that Arpit may be called by some other name also. Right now this is enough. Right now this is enough. I'll help you understand more things later when you get into the topic. It's just that basic discussion we are having now. Later on when we go into the topics, we will discuss more. We'll come up with more names and all. Okay? Yeah. Achha, one more thing. Amit versus Arpit. And then further I add here. Okay? Further I add. I've added this. What did I add? SC 1960 AIR 7701. That means in citation you may find something like this also. After the names you may find these type of numbers or these type of alphabets. Okay, you may find this. So the question comes, sir, what does this indicate? Can anyone guess what is SC? Guess. Can anyone guess what is SC? Section. Oh, no. Same case happened. No, not like that. Very good. I got the right answer, Harshal. It's Supreme Court. Good. So that means this case was being heard by Supreme Court. The judgment was given by Supreme Court in the year 1960. In which year they came up with the judgment? 1960. 1960, the case was not filed. The order was given in the year 1960. Then you say, sir, what is this AIR? See, there might be some magazines in which the case will be published. So let's say AIR is one of the magazine. There are many types of magazines, okay, many names. So one is AIR, LJ we have got, AIJ we have got, like that we have got some journals, some books. In that AIR 7th volume, okay, 7th volume, you may find this case on page number 701. So 7, that Roman number 7 is like 7th volume, okay, volume number. And then 701 is like page number, okay, of the journal, okay, of the book. Which book? AIR. Here I have taken just some examples. So AIR, this type of journal has got some volumes in which page number you may find that case. So someone who wants to refer this case in detail, then they can go to this journal, this volume number, this page number, and refer it. And if they want to know initially only that who has given the judgment and in which year, again, citation is enough. From the citation itself, you can make out, oh, this was given by Supreme Court, and that too, in the year 1960 only they gave this particular judgment. So from this itself we can find it out. That's the advantage of it. Okay. I believe all of you have understood. Yeah, it will change. Suppose if SC is given, instead of SC, HC, High Court it is. And you know, High Court is what, like many, not just one. Supreme Court was one. So what will they do? They'll write High Court, HC, within bracket, let's say TS. That means Telangana state. Yeah, it's just for reference. Okay, so they might write DC, District Court, within bracket, what is the district? They will write that. So they will use this type of, what do you say, short forms or these type of things also to help us refer easily. Okay. Yeah. Chalo. Now let's talk about the next one. Yes, sir. So what is the next one? What is the next one? I have used the word petition. Yeah, is the judgment given in 1960? Yes, Divya, that's what I said. That year will indicate not my birth year or your birth year, okay? It's the year in which the judgment has come. Absolutely right. Your understanding is correct. Okay, next. My question is, now I've used the word petitioner, right? I said Amit has filed the case. So Amit was petitioner, right? Amit has filed the case. That means Amit has filed the petition. So I want to understand what is petition. Okay, in simple words, what is petition? It is application. But please understand, every application is not petition. Only the application filed with judicial or quasi-judicial bodies, that means in short court, is called as petition. Application filed with courts is called as petition. Okay. Now the question comes, can I say every petition is an application, but every application is not a petition? Every petition is an application, but every application is not a petition. Correct, absolutely right. I know every petition is an application, but every application you can't say is a petition, because application when filed with courts, then only it is called as petition. All of you are right. Chalo. So if you have understood reading of case law, then we can move on. Right, these are the different elements in the case law. So as I've told you, at final level probably we'll be reading all, or if not, after becoming CA, whenever, or practically when you are maybe referring the case, you will bother about all these things, not just bother about judgment and leave it. You need to know the case in detail properly. Okay. Yeah. Chalo. Now I am talking about rules of interpretation. So please put the heading. Okay. Next one, rules of interpretation. Rules of interpretation. Please put the heading, rules of interpretation. And before we go into those rules of interpretation, first you will have to tell me, why are we discussing rules of interpretation? Come on, I want you to answer. I know you guys are brilliant and you will answer correctly. Why is it that we are discussing rules of interpretation? I hope all of you know the meaning of interpretation. Interpretation means what? Understanding, interpreting. Interpreting, that is interpretation, understanding, correct? So why are we discussing this rules of interpretation, my dear friends? Please answer. Necessary. Yeah, it's necessary, but why is it necessary to refer? I got the right answer now. Shruti says, because it is written in a special way. Absolutely correct. We have discussed already while discussing the features of law that law is written in a special way. So when it is written in a special way, we might have to use some rules of interpretation. Okay, very good. So question comes, sir, what are the rules of interpretation? Number one rule is literal interpretation. What is the number one rule? Literal interpretation. Meaning, understand the law literally. Meaning what? As it is. As it is, you just read and understand. Whatever is written, you need to understand the same way. If and is there, that means conjunction. Correct? And is means what? Cumulative. So yes, and means cumulative. If or is there, that means what? Disjunctive. You have an option, either or. That's where or. So you'll read and understand the same way. May, M-A-Y, may. I'm not talking about month may. I'm talking about may. That means option. Discretion. Right? So we'll read and understand the same way. Shall, S-H-A-L-L, shall, right? Shall, that means compulsion, must, obligatory. So shall, if written, then you'll think, okay, it's must, it is mandatory, it is obligatory. So my point is simple. You will say, sir, we'll understand the way it is. That's literal interpretation. Will not change anything there. But do you think sometimes literal interpretation doesn't help? Yes, it doesn't help, right? It doesn't help. That is where we might have to go to another one, which is called as reasonable interpretation, which is called as what? Reasonable interpretation. Okay. The Latin maxim also I've written. Now I've shown the slide before you. Literal interpretation, which Latin maxim for that is litera legis. Litera legis means what? Nothing but literal interpretation. It's just the Latin phrase I'm saying, Latin maxim I'm talking about. Ratio legis means nothing but reasonable interpretation. Sir, like we didn't understand. What is it actually? What are you talking about? See, is it possible sometimes maybe mom says something and then later on says, okay, mom, maybe because she had a fight with, papa, right, father, and then she shouted at you, and then probably after half an hour, she comes down when she's like cool and says, beta, I didn't mean to say that. And you might say, yes, mama, I know. You were like down when you had a fight with papa. You were like disappointed. And that's where that happened. Okay, you just uttered something and I don't mind for it. Do you think something of this sort happens with all of us? Come on, guys. Does this happen with us? Yes, all of us might face this type of situation. Or it might so happen that we might say something to our friend. Okay, we might say something to our friend because we were angry. We said something, right? Maybe we shouted at him, maybe we abused him, and then later on might say, no, I didn't mean to say that, Ray. मेरे बोलने का मतलब वो नहीं था, Ray. Do you think this happens? Yes, with all of us this happens. That means again we are trying to say that person that beta, please don't interpret, yeah, literally. Right? You're asking your friend, you're asking maybe some other person whom you're speaking to. Don't understand, don't interpret my words as it is. Correct? Many a times we use some phrases also, some what do you say, proverbs as well, some sayings as well. Correct? And do you think that the other person should understand it literally? Buffalo went into water. They say, no, gai bhains pani mein. So does it mean now buffalo into water? As it is, we have to understand? No, not at all. That's wrong. So my dear friends, please understand, in law as well, we will do literal interpretation, no doubt about that. But remember what I'm talking about. But when literal interpretation doesn't help us in achieving the objective of law, then we have to move on to reasonable interpretation. When will we move from literal to reasonable? When literal fails to achieve the objective of law, fails to achieve the spirit of law, fails to achieve the achieve the rational, okay, for which that law is made, then we have to move on to what? Reasonable interpretation. So these are few examples. Yes, why not? We will take up some example, but first, did you understand at least something about it? All of you followed what I said relating to literal and reasonable? Okay, great. So generally, now answer. Generally, literal or reasonable? Generally, literal or reasonable? Please answer, beta. All of you. Very good. Literal, literal, literal. Yes, you're right. All of you are right. And sometimes reasonable. So when will we go for reasonable? Please answer. When will you go for reasonable? When will we go for reasonable? Very good. Exceptional cases. But what is that exception, Ambika? Please mention that also. Exceptionally, you're right. But when? When will we go for reasonable interpretation? If it is not understood by literal, no. When literal fails to achieve objective of law. Very good, Priyanka. Absolutely correct. See, when literal interpretation doesn't help us in understanding that law properly, doesn't help us in achieving the objective of law properly, that is where we need to move on to reasonable interpretation. So now I will take a very simple examples, okay, before you, and you need to answer those examples, okay? Let's take up some examples. Right. First one. let's say there is some fire. I mean, I'm taking a simple example, not necessarily of law. It can be anything. You need to just help me understand that properly. Let's say there happened what? Let's say the fire broke out somewhere. Okay, fire breaks out somewhere in our adjacent neighborhood. You may find that there is some fire. आग लग गई भाई बाजू में. So now you have seen that. So you call up that fire station and complain them that there's a fire, yeah, beside our house, or there's a fire. I mean, what do you say, broke out. Okay, so now that particular person who has handled your call says, we have a manual. Okay, we have a manual in which it is written, whenever we receive a complaint, then we may address the issue. What is written in the manual? When we receive the complaint relating to fire, we may address the issue. Now, how will you read that may as? How will you understand that may as? Do you think we should go literally? Do you think we should go literally or reasonably? Answer, literal or reasonable. Don't say yes or no. Please answer as literal or reasonable. That person in the fire station said, that we may resolve the issue. Few are saying literal. And those who said literal are absolutely wrong, because the right answer is reasonable. See, how can we say literal? If may is written and that particular person or you are understanding that as may, meaning optional, that means he might say, because may is written, I have no mood to come today because today is Saturday or Sunday, maybe weekend time, I'll not come. Maybe we'll see on Monday. Do you think it will be right? No, not at all. So though the word may is written, but still what we need to read it as or understand it as shall. Okay, though may is written, but we have to understand it as shall. We cannot understand it as may. Oh, Shruti, no meaning what, beta? Did you follow or not? Followed to followed, right? Followed. I'm not able to understand your no. Achha, followed. Okay, great. Chalo, next question I'll take up. Okay, let's talk about the next question. Relating to interpretation only I'm asking. Achha. Let's say in some case, okay, in some case, it is proved that some person has done some offense. So the judge reads the law, and in that particular law, whatever law, okay, whichever law he's referring to or is being there in that case, which is being referred. So refers that particular law, and it is written that if a person is found guilty, then court may punish him. If a person is found guilty, then the court may punish him. Now tell me, how will you understand it? Oh, no, you're saying literal. No, boss. And if a person is found guilty, though the law writes there may, how can the court read that as may? They will say, we shall punish him. We shall punish. If they just relieve him, they don't punish him, then they're setting a wrong example. So please understand, maybe the lawmakers have used the word may, but it has to be read by those judges as shall. As shall. The court shall punish the guilty. That is the way we should be reading. Otherwise, injustice will prevail, beta. See, Naman, I'm just trying to say something that sometimes may is being used or may is being read as shall. May cannot be read as may. You cannot follow simple English. You cannot go for literal. Okay. Real says why when it is literal. Beta, as I've told you, majorly it is literal only. Generally, it is literal only. Sometimes we may go for reasonable. So I'm taking some examples now. Okay, I'm taking some examples wherein I'm talking about reasonable. Did I talk about like 2 lakh cases now? No, I have just taken 2 examples. And those 2 examples which I've picked is talking about reasonable interpretation. Okay. Followed? Chalo. Let me take one more example. You'll understand. Sir, I didn't understand interpretation. Interpretation itself means understanding, Ajit. What is interpretation? Understanding. Understanding what? Obviously, we're discussing law. So understanding law. Right? If you have not, please follow my third example. Maybe who knows, you'll understand now. Chalo. What is written? Chalo. Next one. If an app, next example, if an application for extension is filed, if an application for extension is filed, then the court shall condone the delay. Okay, I will write if you want. If an application is filed for what? Filed for extension, then court shall, or instead of court I can say authorities also. Authorities shall condone the delay. This is what is written in one of the laws. Let's say, guys, this is written in some law. If an application is filed for extension, then the court shall condone the delay. Now, sir, first, what is the meaning of condone? Isn't it? Condone means nothing but waiver, excusing, maafi dena, maaf karna, forgiving, right? Forgiveness. So, if an application is filed for extension or condonation, okay, then authority shall condone the delay. Tell me, how will we read this word shall? They have written shall here. That means authority compulsorily shall give extension, shall give that condonation, shall give that waiver. Good, I got the right answer from Dimple Harshal already. Right, Ambik also has rightly answered. Very good. We do reasonable interpretation here, which means we will not interpret shall as shall. We will interpret shall as what? May. So see, I am repeating again. It is not that I am saying every time may will be read as shall will be read as may. No, I don't mean to say that. But sometimes it is required to be done. Sometimes, rarely, okay, to meet the objective. Okay. Sir, do we use this literal interpretation, reasonable interpretation in our day-to-day life as well? Yes. As I have told you just now, like your mom, maybe you're talking to your mom or mom says something and then later on comes and says, I didn't mean to say that. Like that, it's a part and parcel of our life. Not that only in law we are using. Okay. Just because formally I'm sharing with you doesn't mean that you're using only law. You're using everywhere. Yeah. Let me take some simple example. Okay. How will you interpret this? When I say Simran, Sonika, Dimple, etc. Please come and meet me after the class. Okay. Let's say, I say what? Simran, come on guys. Simran, Sonika, Dimple, etc. Please come and meet me after the class. How will you understand now? Etc. Harshal says literal. No, Harshal, you're wrong. Those who are saying literal are not right. See, when I said Simran, Sonika, Dimple, etc., obviously we'll have to apply some reasonable interpretation here. Because with literal, you'll not understand. What is etc. you need to understand. And now you might understand my intention. See, when I said Simran, Sonika, Dimple, that means I want the girls of this class to meet me after the class. Suppose I say Arpit, Abhishek, Sahil, etc. That means I want the boys of this class to meet me after the class. Understand? So when I said etc., you're using some rules of reasonable interpretation. Okay, you're restricting this general word. This is a general word. Etc. is a general word. To restrict this, we will have to use reasonable interpretation. Acha. Let's say I change this. I change this to what? Simran, Arpit, Dimple, Sahil, etc. Yeah, Priyal, if etc. is not there, obviously literal. You're right. Priyal says if there is no etc., then what? Then obviously literal. There's no doubt about that. Very good. Yeah. So now please tell me, not simple, I'm so sorry. Simran, Arpit, Dimple, Sahil, etc. That means Which interpretation? Very good, reasonable interpretation. So how would we read etc.? Is it that every student of the class I want to meet? Yes, it's every student of this class, because I am not using just boy's name, I'm using even girl's name. Same way, I'm not just using girl's name, but also boy's name. Okay, sir. Sir, but in case we change this, let's say I'm changing the example again. Simran, Arpit, Dimple, Buffalo, Mobile, Tiger, etc. Now, how will you understand this word etc.? Do you think you're going to use reasonable interpretation here? Can you do that? Very good. Because absolutely right. No, it's not possible. Yes, it's correct. See, etc. is not possible to be interpreted as using reasonable interpretation. We cannot do that because there's no sort of trend here. We cannot understand the intention clearly here, so it's not possible. So we have to go for literal interpretation here. Okay, we have to go for literal interpretation. So in order to go for reasonable, it should make sense as well. We should be able to understand something out of it. When we are not able to, how can we do that? Because now I said buffalo, mobile, tiger, apart from Simran, Arpit, Dimple. So it can even be a remote, right? It can be even a car. It can be anything. So how can we interpret this word, etc.? It's not possible at all. Okay. One more example I will give you. Now you need to answer it properly. Okay. That example which I'm taking is from Street Prostitutes Act. Okay. Street Prostitutes Act. Yes, Priyal, you're right. Etc. doesn't make sense here at all. Though etc. is there, but it is like silent for us. And we are not bothered about that etc. You're right. Chalo, let me go to the next example. Street Prostitutes Act. Now what is this? What is that I'm going to share here? See, there was a scenario. There was one area in a particular, city, where what happened was the prostitutes used to disturb the passers. The prostitutes, all of us know what is prostitute. So the prostitutes used to disturb the passers who used to go on that particular street. Passers meaning what? Those who used to pass by that street. They used to be teased by whom? The prostitutes. Okay. So they were like facing a lot of difficulty in passing by that street. So they went and complained to the authorities saying that it has become difficult to pass by that street because those prostitutes like teases us like anything, right? Hey, chikne, chalta kya? Right? It used to be like really difficult for them to pass. So they went and informed the authorities, complained the authorities. So the authorities made a law. And what did they say when they made a law? They said that the prostitute shall not come on to the street and tease the passer. Okay, I have written in a different way, but the what they meant was this. Okay, what they had written in the law was this. Maybe words I have changed. Prostitutes shall not come onto the street and tease the passers. So most of you are saying literal. Okay. So first thing, what you mean to say literal is, sir, shall should be read as shall only. Shall should be read as shall. Very good. You're absolutely correct. Achha, Dimple has written reasonable also. Okay. See, here the point is, first you need to identify. There are two areas where you need proper clarification, meaning you have to be very clear with two things. Number one, prostitutes shall not come onto the teaser. So shall be read as shall only here. It cannot be read as may. So we are following literal. So shall not come onto the street and tease the passers. Achha, so does this mean they can tease from somewhere else? That means there is a possibility of even getting confused with this. People might interpret this in a different way. So we need to be clear that shall not come onto the street shall not be read like this. Rather, we should be reading this as what? Prostitutes shall not tease the passers. That means the prostitutes have to not tease the passers from balcony, windows, and terrace also. Because if they read this literally, then they will say, okay, we will not come onto the street and tease the passer, but we can tease from where? From the balcony, from the window, from the terrace. This is how they can be mischievous. So one has to understand that we cannot just go for literal. Okay, shall literally, no doubt. But this come onto the streets cannot be come on the streets. So ultimately, I can say overall, if I have to answer overall, then I'll say reasonable interpretation we are using. We are not using literal. Overall, if I have to say. Or else I will give my answer in two ways or in two parts. One, I'll say shall should be literal and this onto the streets is reasonable. But overall, if I have to give one answer, I will say reasonable interpretation is what we are applying here. Okay, my dear friends, have you followed? All of you followed? Yep. Yes. Now see, that's what I was telling you. Instead of saying followed, as Shruti has written, yes, followed means it makes more sense. So anyways, you're saying, sir, why don't you use rules of interpretation? We will say, yes, you need to use rules of interpretation. Okay, I'll do that, beta. Fine. Chalo, one more question from my side. Very general one I'm discussing. You might see this many a times. Medical and general stores. In the neighborhood itself, you may find this, right? Same way you may find even Kirana and general stores. I'm taking very fundamental example, basic example I'm taking. Now you might have understood what do I want to ask here. Medical and general store. So what does this general means? Same way Kirana and general store. So what does general means? We need to follow this. Correct? Going by literal sense, you would mean general means anything. So that means in medical shop, will we find gold? Can we go and purchase gold? Obviously no. Acha. Kirana and general store. So general means what? You can find even medicines there. Obviously no. So one has to understand that we'll have to use reasonable interpretation. As all of you have written, mostly people have written the right answer. That will be using reasonable interpretation here. So please understand. I'll ask you something here. If we want a bread packet, do you think we will get it in medical and general store? And the answer is yes. Because when we say general items pertaining to medical, and we know a patient eats even bread apart from idli, upma, something, right? Yeah, I know you're hungry, but please pay attention here first. So general store would mean even they'll have what? A bread packet. So we may find, yeah, we can get a bread packet from medical and general store and also from Kirana and general store. Okay, sir. Now, what about a walking stick? Walking stick, where do we find that? Obviously, medical and general stores. We don't find a walking stick in Kirana and general store. Because, see, walking stick is not a medicine, but then it is relating to medical equipment or medicines. Correct. So that's where medical and general. So general word is used in the sense of what? Medical items. Same way if I'm talking about this general which is written along with Kirana, so has to be interpreted with what? Kirana. That means now if I say, where can you go and buy a jhadu? Where can you get? Medical and general store, can you get a jhadu? Broom. I'm talking about broom. Okay. So, or Kirana and general store. Obviously, it will be Kirana and general store. You will not find that in medical and general store. So don't you think, now answer this, don't you think daily basis, maybe 1,000 times you're using this rules of interpretation somewhere, this literal, reasonable, maybe you didn't knew the names, okay, that there's something called as literal interpretation, there's something called as reasonable, but all of us use this. So same way, we will have to use it while reading the laws. When we read business laws, when we read those selected laws, 5 laws which are there in our syllabus, we will be using this type of rules of interpretation also. Yeah, correct. Medical is literal sense and obviously general is reasonable. So overall it is reasonable interpretation we are doing, Priyal. Correct. So I believe all of you have understood now rules of interpretation. There are two rules. Generally, it is literal interpretation, which is nothing but literal legis, and then there can be reasonable interpretation, which is ratio legis. What is this litra and ratio legis? This is nothing but Latin maxim. Okay, great. Now, please have patience for some time. We will complete this presentation today. One or two things are left. We'll complete that and then maybe end our session. Okay, so have patience till then. Chalo. So what is the next thing? Next thing which I want you to take up is what is section 1 and section 2 generally in a law? Okay, what is section 1 and section 2 generally in a law? No, you don't know. That's why I'm going to help you. Generally, when you read any law, what will be there in section number 1? Same way, what will be there in section 2 is what we need to understand. Okay, so first section 1. Okay, and I'm placing the slide before you. You will find section number 1 of any law you take. You will find what? Title. Title means title of that particular act. Okay, title of that particular law, the Indian Contract Act 1872. Where will you find the complete title? Section number 1. The Companies Act 2013. Where will you find this title? Section number 1. So section number 1 will comprise of what? Title. Then also it will comprise of extent, meaning where does it apply? Suppose I say it applies to the state of Karnataka. It applies to the whole of India. That means I'm talking about what? Geographical applicability. And sometimes we'll say the Companies Act is applicable only to companies. That means entity related applicability. So where does the act apply, or to whom does this act applies, is given where? In section number 1. Okay, section number 1. Then section number 1 also comprises of commencement date, meaning when is it that this act is applicable from? Okay, when is it that this act is implemented from? We need to know that as well. So that's given in section number 1. So 3 things we will find is given in section number 1. The title, the extent, and the commencement date. Extent can be of different types like geographical or maybe person related, entity related as well. Okay, did you follow section 1? Section 1 will comprise of 3 things: title, extent, and commencement date. Okay, acha. Then coming to section number 2, I believe you're noting down. Okay, please note down as well. It's great that you are able to follow, but also note it down. Okay, yeah. Coming to section 2. Section 2, normally you will find what? Definitions. Okay, section 2, what will we have? Definitions. See, whenever we are reading a law, we need to understand a few terms properly. So if there are some definitions given, okay, generally definitions are given in section number 2. So we'll have to go to that section number 2 and understand the definitions given there, so that later on when we are reading the law, we know the meaning of that term. Use as an example. Okay, I'll give you an example. Let us say we are reading Companies Act. In section 2 of Companies Act, we have got some definitions. In those definitions, one of the definition is that of relative. Relative. So, sir, why did they give the definition of relative? All of us know what is relative. Why do we need to refer? Okay, or why did they give? So the answer is very simple. See, if they don't give, then don't you think you and me might have a different meaning of the term relative? You might understand relative as only your parents, or who knows, someone will say, no, not just my parents, but my uncle, auntie who stay with me also are my relative. Someone will say, no, sir, actually what? I mean, even my grandparents who don't stay with me are my relatives. Someone will say, my in-laws are also my relative. Someone will say, all my friends are also my relative. Someone will say, neighbors are also my relative. Anyone who's related to me is my relative. Don't you think that way there can be n number of definitions given by n number of people and it would become difficult? Yes, because you will understand in a different way and follow up in a different way. I mean, in your own way, and I will understand in some other way and follow it in some other way, that particular way, which will be wrong. That means you following, me following will be totally different and it will not be correct. So that's why what they do is they give the definitions of few terms in the law itself. And normally, where do they give those definitions? Section number 2. Now you might say, sir, why did you say normally, generally? Because it is not always. It is generally given. Sometimes it is given, and that too given in section 3, section 4, section 5. Like that also it is possible. It can happen. Not necessarily section 2 always. But generally section 2, that's why I have written there section 2. Same way if I talk about section 1 title, normally title will be there in section 1 only. But this extent and commencement date, okay, or maybe extent, usually extent, I mean not usually, but sometimes extent is given in section 2 and then definitions given in section 3. It can happen. Generally this is the case. Generally means what? Mostly. But rarely there's a possibility of they changing this as well. They changing this as well. So this also can happen. Okay guys, did you follow what will be there in section 1 and section 2 of each law? Generally section 1 comprise of title, extent and commencement date, and section 2 generally is of definitions. Now I'll tell you one simple thing. Please note down properly. Please take note of it. Okay. And then I'll ask you some question. Titles are of two types. Titles are of two types, short and long. Short and long. So sir, what is the difference? I'll give you an example. You'll understand it yourself. The Companies Act 2013 is a short title. Okay. The Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999 is a long title. The Foreign Exchange Management Act is what? A long title. Whereas the Companies Act is a short title. So now the question comes that, sir, what is short title or what is a long title? How do we understand which one is a short and which one is a long title? Okay. The Companies Act 2013. Okay. Same way we have got the Foreign Exchange Management Act also. Okay, 1999. So this one I said is a short title. First one is a short title, correct? And then second one I said is a long title. So how do you think we can differentiate which one is a short title, which one is a long title? And the answer is very simple. Whenever, period is okay, Baba. Both has got period. Okay, Abhishek, listen to me carefully. You're not paying attention. Please pay attention. The Companies Act, okay, 2013, I've already mentioned. Same way, the Foreign Exchange Management Act 1999, already mentioned here. I have not written, that's it. So now, what will be the criteria to decide? The criteria is this particular title giving us anything more? Is it helping us in understanding what this law is all about? The answer is no. And that's where it will be a short title. See, because from the title, I cannot make out whether this law is to promote companies, manage companies, discourage companies, prevent the company form of business, stop the company, regulate companies. What they want to do was, what do they want to do? We don't understand from the title. We simply understand this law is about companies. But whether they want to promote, manage, restrict, nothing we know. But if you look at the Foreign Exchange Management Act, here at least we can make out that this law is pertaining to foreign exchange, and that to managing foreign exchange. The idea is that they should be dealing with foreign exchange. The act is dealing with foreign exchange, but what? Managing foreign exchange. The idea is about management of foreign exchange. So is it giving some clue relating to what the law is about? Yes. So that's where it will be long title. Did you understand? Short means it will not give you any clue. Long means it will give you some clue. Okay. Like in movies also we have got no short title and long title. Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge. What is it? Obviously long title. War means what? Short title. No sir, from war also we can get to know. What can you get to know? War between whom? What? Many things are open. So please understand, it is possible that you might have long and short title. So if you have understood now, answer my question. The Indian Contract Act 1872 is a short title or long title? Come on. The Indian Contract Act 1872, is it a short title or long title? And the answer is it is a short title. See, the Indian Contract Act, that means that is an act relating to contracts in India. But they want to regulate those contracts, manage those contracts, promote those contracts. What? We don't know. So that's where it is what? Only a short title. It's not a long title. Okay, next one. The Sale of Goods Act 1930. Come on, guys. The Sale of Goods Act 1930. Long or short? You're not paying attention, guys. Priyal is right. Priyal says short. All of you have to pay attention. Sumedh also is right now. See, I said the Sale of Goods Act. So the act relating to sale of goods. But again, the same question comes. What same questions? Whether it is relating to regulating, managing, what type of goods, correct? Nothing we know. So how can we say it is long? It is a short title. Good. Acha. One more example. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act 2002. Okay. The Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Long or short? The Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Very good. It is a long title because I said it's not just Money Laundering Act. It is Prevention of Money Laundering Act. So it's preventing, stopping. So the act is about preventing. Correct? You are giving the right reason. So it's about prevention. That's where it's a long title. Good. So this way we may find some long titles, some short titles. Okay. And as and when we discuss the different laws, I will ask you this question time and again. Section 1, what is it comprised of? Same way section 2, and take up these type of questions. Okay, next. Now, I would like to share with you this glossary. I have told you, if you remember, that when you do writing, one writing is classroom notes, which you are anyways doing now. Whenever I'm explaining something, you're noting down, you're writing. This is classroom notes. Maybe you'll use some charts later on, right? Some sort of keywords you'll use. That is there. Another thing I said, you can prepare something called as glossary. And I've told you some important items has to be included there. And I will give you the format. I will help you out with those type of items. So here the list. Here is the list. Okay. You just said list is there, but format not there. So let me take you through the format also. Okay. So this is the format, guys. If you can just check it out. First one, important sections. So what you can do is you can have some 3 or 4 pages. Okay, glossary you can prepare, wherein important sections will be one item, and you can have 3 or 4 pages for it. Format can be section number. Okay, you can put the column heading, section number, title of that section, because I said section 2 now, definitions. Okay, section 3, what is there? What is the title? So like that you may write. Okay, when we start our topic, you can do that. You'll say, sir, why are you sharing this today? See, now tomorrow I will start with Indian Contract Act. Okay, so when we'll be reading those sections, at least you'll know, oh, we are discussing now important section numbers. You can comment right here. Now we have discussed in our basics of law also some Latin maxims, right? Ratio legis, litera legis, ignorantia juris, non exequis art. Like that, we'll come across more Latin maxim. So if you have the format prepared readily, okay, if you have prepared your format and it is ready, it will become easy for you to go and note down there. That is why I'm sharing today, so that tomorrow you'll have the formats ready. So right now you don't prepare it, okay? But just have a look at it and note down. Later on you prepare the formats with number of pages. Yeah, Harshal, I've already told that. Let me complete this part, Harshal. I think he's hungry. Whenever there's an account session, anyways, you sit till 3, right? So please have patience, beta. Yeah. So important sections is the first item in which I have given the format, section number, title, and then page number. You say, sir, what is this page number? See, I'll give you one book, I said. So when I give you the book, you'll have page numbers. So you can go and easily refer. If you have written section 2, page number 3. So if you want to refer that, you can easily go to page number 3 in the book and refer it. Suppose we are reading section number 19A, which is there on page number 26. You can write there page 26. It will help you to refer easily. That is my idea. Second item, as I've written, Latin maxim. Which section we have used this? What was the maxim? What is the meaning of the maxim? And page number. This way you can have again a item called as Latin maxims. Okay. Page number column obviously will be a smaller one. Show to. Okay. And everywhere you will find page number is written, as you could see clearly. Right. Next, then important consequences or penalties. Important consequence or penalty. You say, sir, we can write only one term, no important consequence. No, sometimes you'll find penalty also. Okay. When I start, you'll understand it. Don't worry. Sometimes 5 lakhs penalty, sometimes 2 lakhs penalty, sometimes contract is void. Like that, you may find some consequences, some penalty. So that's where section number, what was the contravention, who is the person who is punished or liable, what is the liability or what is the penalty, what is the consequence, that you can prepare. So you can have some 5 or 6 columns in this, important consequences or penalties. Then we have got legal terms or concepts. Like, we are discussing petition, we have discussed, we have talked about cause the judicial body, we have talked about decree. Like that, we are coming across some legal terms. We'll come across some legal concepts. So you can make a note of that also at one place. It will help you. Later on, when you want to quickly revise these type of things, they will be at one place. So it will be very easy for you to revise. So for that, I have written format as section number, in which section number, which term was used, which concept, meaning or explanation of it, followed by the page number, sure to. Then important case laws, wherein we have citation, subject matter, section number, which section number you're using that case, decision, because we can't include every item. As I've told you, practically when you're referring, you have to refer every item. But as a student, probably you will bother about important items. So that's where I've written then decision and followed by page number, right? Important case laws. Then we have got do's and don'ts for presentation. Do's and don'ts for presentation, meaning I will be helping you with some do's and don'ts, as I've told you earlier also, with respect to written presentation, with respect to oral presentation. Okay, which words to be avoided, which words to be used. So that way I will help you, or underlining should not be done, or tabular presentation should be done, like that, especially because it's a subjective paper. Presentation is very much important. And forget about examination. As I've told you, don't bother about just your CA examination, bother about the live examination, practice. When you will be doing practice, when you will be a chartered accountant, that time presentation matters a lot. So we need to understand the role of this. And then I have written some other important points, because I will say in this section, this is very important. Like that, somewhere here and there, I'll say something very important. So you can note down those type of important points also at one place. So if you're having your notebook and you have started writing your classroom notes in the front side, then what you can do is you can use your backside of your book for glossary. Okay, some 3-4 pages for sections. Same way, Latin maxim you can prepare for in some, let's say, 2 pages. Okay, I'm giving you some pages, papers, how many required. Okay, and I believe paper and page, is different. One paper will consist of 2 pages. Okay, important sections, I said 3-4 pages. Not all sections. I'm talking about the important ones you need to note. Latin maxim, I'm saying 2 pages. Penalties, let's say 2 to 3. Sir, but in case my 3 pages gets over, then prepare again. So don't ask me that question. Huh? Then legal terms or concepts, let's say 4 to 5 pages. 4 to 5. Then important case laws, again, let's say 4 to 5. Do's and don'ts, let's say some 2 pages. Okay. Important sections, I said some 3 to 4. Latin maxim, I said 2. Consequences, penalties, I said 2 to 3. Legal terms, concepts, I said some 4-5. Same way, case laws, I said 4 to 5. Do's and don'ts, some 2 to 3 pages. Important points, depends, but still you can leave some 4 to 5 pages for this. So this way, when we meet tomorrow, you can have the glossary prepared. Okay, you can keep the glossary prepared in front of you, and as and when you think you have to write down, you can. But in case you are not able to write parallelly, because it is not possible that I give you so much of time to write. So what you can do is complete the class and then take glossary as a homework. In case you are not able to write glossary, then take it as a homework. Every day find out which are the important sections which I should go and write in glossary. Which are the Latin maxims which we have discussed, go and write there. Like that, you can do a homework on a daily basis and complete your glossary. Back side of your book, front side your classroom notes. This is how you can test. Anyways, I've told you separate book you can keep for test, practice, or maybe the other test, regular test which will be conducted. Or practice also you can include here, but the regular test for which I'll give you the test paper, you can write separately. Okay, that we can do. So this is done, I guess. Now glossary, and the last part, this I'll not discuss now. This I will discuss once we discuss some topic. It means once I complete first topic, then I will give you some question, and then I will help you how to answer those questions. That time we'll be talking about this last slide in this presentation, answer to the practical question. Not now. Okay. Yes. So tell me, did you follow now? Guys, did you follow whatever we have discussed today? And my next question, you know, what will it be? Did you enjoy? Are you enjoying this subject? Are you enjoying the subject? Enjoying the subject? Yes. Okay. Great. Great. In case you have not followed, please don't hesitate. Tomorrow when we meet again, right, first we'll revise whatever we discussed and start off with our next topic. And next tomorrow, you know, we'll be starting with our first topic. Okay, Indian Contract Act. This was basics, which is, as I've told you, not a particular topic but overall useful. So tomorrow when we meet, we'll be talking about our first topic, Indian Contract Act. Okay, so thank you all. A very what do you say, God bless you all, and have a great day ahead, great afternoon and evening ahead. Take care of yourself. Stay home. Yeah, stay safe. Thank you. Bye bye, beta. All of you. God bless you all. Bye.